welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is a continuation of the webinar we hosted last time, which was the reporting basics, whereas today is all about advanced reporting. So going into a little bit more of some complex reports and also the complex features we have with our reporting tools. So I'm Abby, and I'm a customer success manager here at ProspectSoft. I've been with ProspectSoft now for maybe 3 years. So I like to think I've seen quite a lot of report questions be asked for customers. So if you guys managed to ask one today that I don't know, it's well done. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to answer all of your questions and also help you learn some new things about reporting because it can be quite complex and we do get quite a lot of comments saying customers just don't really know where to start. But hopefully today's webinar and the last webinar we did will help clear some of that up. So for the agenda today, I'm going to be doing a live demo on building some of these reports. If at any point you had any questions, please do put them in the Q&A section. Equally, if you wanted me to go over some things a little bit, if you wanted me to go over anything again or in a little bit more depth, please do just let me know. And there's a Q&A section at the end where we'll go through that. Equally, if there were any reports that you wanted me to perhaps demonstrate how I would build or how you could get to that data, please feel free to put that in the Q&A section as well. I might not be able to get around to all of them, but if I don't, I can follow up afterwards or ask support to contact you to get help because things can be quite tricky. So we are here to help you. But for today's webinar, a quick agenda. The overarching theme of today's webinar is kind of unlocking a little bit more of your customer insights and finding the hidden opportunities within that. So it's finding a list of customers that you can perhaps upsell to, cross-sell to, but a really nice targeted list of really valuable customers that you are going to be able to get some orders from. And you can make that as refined as you want. And the way we're going to demonstrate that is by using features such as collection filtering, grouping and summaries. So grouping and summaries to get you a bit more of an oversight of the data we're looking at. Whereas collection filter is a little bit more on getting really into the nitty gritty of the data. And we'll also be going through the cubes that we have. So cubes are some pre-aggregated data for your sales. So being able to see your sales month by month in one report. So that's a little bit about the agenda. And as I said, there's a demo and a Q&A section at the end. So the key takeaways for today's webinar is, as I mentioned, finding those hidden opportunities. And to do this, we're mainly going to be focusing on the report that we have in the CRM as standard, which is the customers who bought X but not Y report. Everybody should have this report in their system. If you don't, please do contact support and we can put it in there. And it kind of goes really well hand in hand with our Magic Matrix feature. But the benefit of doing it with the report is that, as I mentioned, with the filtering, you can kind of get a little bit more specific about the list of customers that you get, just to help really make sure the cross-sell and upsell opportunities, if you're doing marketing or calling, is to a really good set of customers that you're going to be able to get kind of quick wins from. And the report also helps with spotting purchasing gaps and, yeah, ultimately, hopefully boosting your revenue. We'll also be going through the grouping and summarizing of your data. Again, that's great for an overview, spotting perhaps some trends, maybe just gaining a better understanding of how much your revenue is each month for which product, for which customers. You can go into quite a lot of detail there if you want to. And yeah, that's also helped by exploring the data cubes that we have in the CRM. So that's where it breaks down all of the data for you by month and year, as well as company or product. So there's quite a few different features that we're going to be demoing today. And as I mentioned, any questions, just put it in the Q&A and we can get there. But let's get straight into the demo and let's get going. So as I mentioned, we'll start with the customers who bought X but not Y report. And customers do often say that the biggest challenge with reporting is finding where to start. The reporting feature is really, really powerful, and there's a lot of data in the system for you to be looking into, but it's where do you actually start? How do you actually find which report you want to be using, or how do you know which entity you want to be starting on. And the best advice I can give you is by looking at the default reports we already have in the system, trying to find one as close as possible to what you're looking for, and then using that as a bit of a springboard to get it started. So that's why starting with the customers who bought X but not Y report is really great, is because it's already one in the system and you can then kind of just add more filters to it. You'll also notice that we have a customers who have not bought X report. So that's a little less complex, but you can still see a little bit more information. So if we have a look at the customers who bought X but not Y, I'll quickly kind of go through how this works, because then that helps lay the foundations of how you can then add your own filters to it. So if we click Manage Filters, you'll notice currently no data is being shown, and that's because actually I've not filled out the filters. So you'll see here there are two boxes you need to input, and this is where you actually input which SKUs you want to be looking into. Because remember, this report is going to be showing you which customers have bought product A but have not bought product B. So this is really useful for when you've got two products that you know you sell really well together, but there's a possibility that customers don't always actually buy them together. So for example, if you sell table and chairs, you know that if a customer buys a table, they're most likely going to also buy a chair from you, but it's not 100% going to happen. So this is great for spotting customers who have only ever bought tables from you, and to perhaps kind of cross sell some chairs, maybe do a bit of a promotion with them, to try and get them to purchase the chairs, because if they bought the table, it's very likely they'll want to buy a chair. But anyway, so if I input some SKUs here, so I'm actually going to use our blueberry jam and our strawberry jam. So hopefully it works. So currently this report is now showing me that we've got 17 customers who have bought our blueberry jam, but haven't bought our strawberry jam. So as I mentioned, 17 customers haven't bought one of our flavors of jam. Well, that should be a fairly easy opportunity to kind of start marketing, start reaching out to these customers to find out perhaps why. And perhaps if they haven't ever had it or didn't know you even had strawberry jam, it's a great opportunity to kind of market to them and sell that other product. So this here, the filtering that we've just done, is the collection filtering. So the way it works is you'll see it's actually filtering on transactions. But if I go up here and select fields of the report is actually on companies, because you're wanting a list of companies. So you've created the report on company, but you want to filter by transactions. So that's collection filtering. Collection filtering is filtering by another entity that the report isn't actually based on. Because if we go here and click show more and try to add sales transaction data, it's not here. That's because the CRM hierarchy means that you have to start the report on the lowest level of the hierarchy. So in this case, it would be sales transaction. So if you wanted a report to actually be able to see sales transaction data, which I'll be creating a little bit later, you would need to start it on sales transaction, and you can kind of expand up to company. Whereas because I've started on company, I can't expand down to sales transaction. But with collection filtering, I can still filter my list of companies on the sales transaction data, if that makes sense. So that's what we've done here. And your options are saying where any and where none, where all and where not at all. So this is saying currently, I want to see a list of customers where any of their sales transactions include a product that start with blue. And I want to also see customers within that list where none of their sales transactions start with strawberry. So that's kind of how collection filtering works. Now, you can do this kind of on any entity that the record links to. So we could filter this report by data on contacts, on quotes, on opportunities. So let's see how that works. I'll do it on categories. So perhaps you don't want to just see it by exact SKUs. Perhaps you want to do it by categories. Now, I would say you'd probably want to use our magic matrix for this, because actually that's exactly what the magic matrix shows you, whether customers bought from this category, whether they haven't bought from it, or if they're aware of it. And you can use the build awareness feature that we have on the Magic Matrix to achieve that. But as I mentioned, you would want to use this report rather than the magic matrix if you then want to like filter it some more, if you really want to dig in. And I'll kind of show you some other filtering that you can do as well on that. But if I remove this and if I show you how you actually create a collection filter from scratch. So you go just add a filter as you normally would. And if you click show more, and if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll notice some of these uh, fields are named after actual entities. So we've got documents, we've got inquiries, quotes, problems. So this is the collection that you can filter by. So the one we're looking for here to show customers who bought category X but not category Y would be on sales transactions. So if you select that and we continue, you'll get a filter that looks very similar to the one that we just removed. And currently it's just filtering where, give me a list of customers where they have any sales transactions. So this is currently a list of all of my customers who have purchased from me. But I want to be looking at only ones who have bought from category X, but not Y. So if we add a filter here, you'll then get a list of all the fields in sales transaction. If I click show more and scroll down, you get product. And this is where I select category. If I click continue, you can see product categories here. So if I want to filter it by finished jams, this is now a list of customers who have got sales transactions with products in them that are in the category of finished jams. So that's one step. And perhaps that's enough for you, and perhaps that's all you want to see. But actually, I want to see where they've also not then bought from this category. So to do that, I would actually, instead of adding another filter, you want to use the and with sales transaction, because this is like an extra step. This is, and they haven't done this. So I would then change the filter here to be where none, because this is the part where I'm saying where they haven't bought this product category. And then the same process, add a filter, scroll down to the product, select category, and here we go. And I'm going to select multi-packs. There we go. So now I have a list of customers who have bought from my product category of finished jams, but haven't then bought multi-packs. So for me, this is going to be a great chance to say, well, if they've bought my individual jams, I can probably run a promotion and get some interest in my multi-packs because they've already bought the jams. This is then to actually just buy more of my jams. So can you see why that would be quite useful to be able to get quite a nice set of customers to then market to? But I want to take it a step further. And I already send out samples to my customers. So if I send out samples, then I wouldn't really want to be doing this marketing to customers who have already got those samples, because then I'm just sending them double samples and there's no point in doing that. But the way I know if a customer has been sent a sample is we raise an opportunity and set a custom field to say sample is sent. With collection filtering, I can now filter this list of companies by those opportunities. So the same way we did for sales transactions, we're going to add filter, click show more. And if we scroll to the bottom, we will see opportunities. And scroll here. This is now showing me customers who have bought from my finished jams category, but not my multi-packs, and they have any opportunity. So currently that's 5 customers, but I specifically only want to see them where they have any opportunities where the sample sent, and sample sent is a custom field on my opportunity. Click true. Where sample sent is false. I think change this to where none. There we go. Okay, so now I'm seeing a list of customers who have, if we go back up here, any sales transactions where they've purchased from the finished jams category, where they have not purchased from the multi-pack category, and where they have no opportunities that the sample sent is true. Quite a mouthful and quite a lot to digest there. And you can add as many of these filters as you want. You can get really, really specific with it. And the reason you'd want to do that is so then you know the efforts of your marketing team, or perhaps people who are going to be calling, are to a really good set of customers that are actually really likely to get the cross sell from. So it's a bit of a quick win, really. So yeah, a little bit complex, a little bit, there's a lot to digest there, and it's quite easy to get lost in it. But hopefully, I've shown how collection filtering can be quite useful in that term. It can also be quite useful if you're wanting to do a bit of data cleansing. So if I come out of that report and we actually go to create a new report, if I'm going to start this on company, I can get a list of companies, if I just stick with name for now, where they have contacts with no email address. So email address is quite key, as I'm sure you all know, to contacting the customer. And you don't really want to have too many contacts with no email address as a primary email address. And this is just a great way to kind of keep up with your data, make sure it's really clean. So then when you're building the report I just showed you, and you go to perhaps add that to a campaign or pass that over to your sales team, they can actually do something with those customers. So again, I've just got a list of company names here. If I add a filter, I'm going to want to find the contact one. So this is another collection filter, filtering on contacts. And I'm saying currently where they have any contacts where the email address is empty. So this is now a list of companies where they have any of their contacts associated to these companies have an empty email address. So if we were to then go into one, Mary Berry, for example, and have a look at their contacts, we should be able to see neither of these have email addresses. So again, this is a really great way. If you're wanting to do a little bit of a data cleanse, you can do that. And you might be wondering, okay, but how do I know if I want to do this method or actually just writing a report on contacts, right? Because you could just write a report on contact and do the exact same filter where their email is empty, and then you get a list of contacts. You can do that too. Both methods work fine. It just depends what you're actually looking to get. So this method that I just showed you with collection filtering, you're getting a list of companies. Whereas if you write it on contacts, you'll get a list of contacts. And as we saw in Mary Berry, if there are two contacts there with no emails, that company will then show up twice in the report. So I guess it just depends exactly what kind of level of data you're looking to get, but both will give the same results. So that is a little bit about collection filtering. And I will go and move on to grouping and summary now, and we can come back to questions about that a little bit later. So grouping and summary is going to be really useful where you've got quite a complex report and you're wanting to kind of dive a little bit deeper into your data. So a really common report question we get asked is, how can I see for this year, perhaps, all of my customers who have purchased from me? I want to see what orders those were and what products were in those orders. And I want to kind of see a summary of how much that was for each. So, as I mentioned before, with the hierarchy, you want to be starting as low as possible. So, for this one, you would want to start on sales transaction because that's going to give you the level of detail of what products those customers actually purchased. You can use the standard fields. I'm also just going to go in and add product SKU. We'll put that right at the front, and don't think we need to add anything else. So we'll go next. So now this is currently showing me a list of all of my sales transactions, and each sales transaction, like each row, is every product that's been purchased on that sales order, on that order number, sorry. I'm going to first off filter it by transaction date because I know I'm only interested in looking at perhaps this year, perhaps you want it to be this financial year, year to date. It kind of depends again what data you're looking to get, but you've got quite a few options there. So I want to see it only for this year. And I want to see, first of all, how much revenue have I made this year? So the way I would do that is go to the three-dot menu and I would add a summary to the entire report. And I would do that by finding base value excluding tax and dragging it into the summary option up here, making sure it's in total. So this report is currently showing me all of my sales transactions for this year, and this is then how much all of that totals to. Well, that's great, but I also then kind of want to see which customers made up this data, who's actually been purchasing from me this year. So that's where you'd then add a grouping. And we would do this on invoice sales ledger name. So this is going to be the account name from your ERP or accounting system. Now, if you work with perhaps if you actually send the order through to Tesco's, for example, like the main Tesco's, but actually you have lots of different Tesco stores you send your products to, and you want to see each individual store rather than just your ERP accounting system name, you would then go quote and within quote company, presuming you quote within the CRM. So you've got two options there, whether you want to see it by your ERP accounting system account name or the actual quotes company name. You've got two options to there. I'm going to do it by sales ledger name. And you can actually then summarize the grouping. So if I then find base value and add that underneath, I'm now going to be able to see a summary of each of those sales ledger names. So if I submit that, you'll see what I mean here. So I can see the overall base value for this year is up here, but then I can see quite a nice breakdown of each customer. So Bill's Kitchen, for example, made up 36,000 of that. If I go back to my summary and grouping, I can then actually sort this by the base value top to bottom. Submit. And you'll see here, my top customer is Mary Berry. And this is how much they made this year. And if I then expand this group, I can see details of which product they actually purchased. Now, again, that's great, but actually I want to see how many, like per order, how many orders made up that total and how much did each order value. You can group the grouping. So we're going to do that by coming in here and then finding order number, because we want to see when we click into each sales ledger, we want to see each order then broken down. So if we do order number, and you're going to drag that to the highlighted field here, that's going to add another grouping. And we want to then do another summary of base value. And actually, I'm going to add another one of order number. And I'm going to summarize the sales ledger name by order number, unique values. Now that's going to tell me how many orders they made this year, presuming your order numbers are unique, which they should be. So if we submit that, you've now got an overview for this year. Mary Berry made 71 orders. That's how much they all came to. If we expand that, you can then see each order and how much each order was. So we can then go in and see this was a really nice value order. What did that summarize of? Mostly blueberries per kilo. So you can see quite a nice breakdown and overview of your customers' buying habits, really. It is worth noting that the grouping and summary, if you export this report to Excel, will not cross over. So if you were to export this to Excel, you would just get a list of the sales transactions, and then you would need to do the kind of filtering and grouping within Excel. This will currently only be in the CRM. So this is really great if you're just looking for, again, a bit of an overview, just to be able to dive into that data a little bit more. And grouping's great I find it really useful just to segregate and collect them all in one, so then you can see a little bit more easily where each product lies. Okay, so that's how you do that. But as I mentioned, when you're exporting this report, it won't move over, which I can totally understand is not really ideal for a lot of people. And there's also the big factor of, if we go back to the filtering that we've done, we can only see in this one report the transaction date for this year. I can't, for example, look at this year compared to last year, or this month compared to this month, like this time last year's month, which again is really what you're looking for, to be able to find trends, to be able to make a few more decisions, understand your data better. You're going to want to be able to compare them. So the way we would do that is by using the CRM cubes, which are quite confusing, but I will try my best to explain them. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, the best way to tackle our reporting is to look at what reports have already been pre-created for you. The cube one that we've already pre-created for you is the top products report. So that's on the sales transaction product cube. And if we go into this, we can have a little look as to what this looks like. So currently, this is just showing you your top products. So kind of which product has been sold the most, and currently there's a filter of for last year. Product A did really well last year. But if we add some more fields to this report, because I'm going to turn this report into, instead of being top products, I want to see for every customer what products they bought and how much they bought of it, depending on which month it is. So to do that, I'm going to add the month and the year field because I want to see which month and year this is in reference to. If I submit, you'll be able to kind of see what I mean. So product A currently has a value of this for September 2025. Now, if I go to manage filters, you'll be able to see this is a little bit different to how you would filter a normal report. And that's because this is a cube. Cube is kind of three-dimensional. So we've already kind of pre-calculated for each month, how much did this customer buy of this product? And you'll have a line for each product for each customer if they've bought that product. So the way you then manipulate this data is by grouping, deciding, do you want it to be grouped by sales ledger, for example? And what does that actually mean? So currently, you can see this report is grouped by sales ledger. So that means you're getting a report that's just showing you your products for all of your customers. So you've grouped this on sales ledger. You want to see all of the sales ledgers grouped together. You don't want to see individuals, you want to see it grouped together. So if I was then to change this to 0, hopefully it works. You need to add the field of account name. So you want to add the sales ledger name. That's another field I forgot to mention you need to add on. So if we submit that, there we go. You'll see, you can now see product A for Mary Berry was this much. But if we were to perhaps do the sorting, you'll see there are multiple lines for customers. And this is because if we see here, yep. So this is now showing me for March 2024, my B2B guest customer bought this much blueberry jam. But then if you see down here, the same customer bought blissful blueberry jam in May 2025, and that's how much they purchased. So you can kind of see it's already all pre-calculated for you. So this is going to be really useful if you're wanting to export to Excel and have just a really simple overview of how much did they buy, how many orders they had, and what year. So if I then do grouping by product, you should now see, yes, you should now see this is not by product, this is just seeing your customers, how much they bought each month, but not broken down into product. So I can see March 2024 was this much, May 2025 was this much. But again, this report's a little bit confusing to actually view, to actually look at. If you export it to Excel, then that's fine. You can kind of create graphs in Excel and everything. But in the CRM, how can we make this a little bit easier to view? I'm actually going to take off the product grouping here. So now I'm going to see for every customer, every month, which product did they buy and how much did they buy? Now, the easiest way to then actually be able to view this data and get a better understanding is by applying what we just did in the last report with the grouping and summary. So if we group this report, say by sales ledger name, and have a look at that, we can then see a little bit easier which customers have been, like the customer's data specifically. So if I have a look at Blackburn jams, for example, I can see we've got no, like for last year, because remember, we've got a filter here saying for last year, you can take that off and have it as all time or this year. You can see they bought only one product. This is how much they bought. This is when they bought it. And this is the year that they bought it. But if we perhaps go into Bill's Kitchen, who has purchased quite a lot, you'll be able to see in January, these are all for January, these are each product that they bought, and then this is the value. So what you could do is say do a sort on there. So I go back there and do it again, Bill's Kitchen. So the most that they've ever bought of one product in 1 month is blueberries, and that was in October 2025. They had an order count of 5, and that's how much they spent. So you can see a little bit of a breakdown there. And if you wanted to then be able to see a little bit easier of which month and year they were spending, you can then add again another grouping. So perhaps you want to add a grouping of year and then add a grouping of month and then also summarize each of them. So if we add a summary for each, click submit, wait for that to load, you're now going to see, and actually if we add a pre-sort on this one too, so I want to see all my top customers at the top. For the rounded date being last year, my top customer was Mary Berry. She purchased this much from me. And if I open up, I can see in 2025, that's the biggest, and 2024 is there. And actually, if I then open that up, I can see which month had the biggest sale. So for me, that would be month 6. Now, don't get caught out here. Some of you may have noticed I've opened up month 6, but it says September, not June. That's because our cube reports use the financial year you've set. So this workspace is currently set for their financial year to start in April. And so when you group by month, the first month will be April because these are pre-calculated to your financial year. So do be aware of that. Do make sure you are not getting the numbers confused. But it's still really, really nice and simple, at least I find, to be able to group these reports. So then you can see for each month kind of how much was spent, which year, and importantly, you can then compare them. So you can see Mary Berry really grew in 2025 compared to 2024. And if you wanted, you can remove that grouping and then actually see, okay, well, how did the products compare to each other in each year? Did they buy more of this product in 2025 than compared to 2024? You can see that if you just remove that grouping that I added on there. So if we remove that and submit, you can then kind of compare them a little bit more. Perhaps you sort it by month, so then the months are all grouped together. And you can see here. And just remember, if you say, actually, I don't really care about seeing a breakdown of products right now, you can then group your products together by turning this filter into one. And then now when we look into Mary Berry, you won't see it by product, you'll just see it by month and year. So you can see in the entirety of April, they bought this much of all of your products. It doesn't matter which product they bought, it all gets grouped into that one. Okay. So really the cubes work by just deciding which group do you want to be turned on or not. And by turning it on, you're saying, I want to group them all together and I want to see a figure for them all together. So you want to see all of your products in one figure rather than broken down into individual figures. And this is again, just to give you a bit more of an overview of your customers' spending habits, a bit more of an overview as to what they're buying. And importantly, you can then export this to Excel and it will give you a line for every month and you can then create lots of charts for it and everything. So hopefully I've explained that well. Cubes are a little bit confusing. If I come off of that and I type in cube, we've got quite a few different ones. So I was just on the sales transaction product cube. So that's where you're wanting to see sales transactions and products in one report. But you can do just sales transaction. So you wouldn't get the breakdown of the products on there. But as I showed you, you can actually still use this entity and just group it by product and you'll get the same effect as sales transaction cube, but you've got the choice of changing them around there. But perhaps you want to see quotes by salesperson. So again, that's another easy way of understanding a little bit more about what your salespeople are doing each month. So if I was just to go on here, you would see how many quotes and how many values per user. So that's going to be a row for, again, like the one I just showed you. each month for each year, how much did this salesperson sell for that month and year. And so, but the theory of how the cubes work is still the same. You still have those grouping filters that you just turn on or off to then be able to display the data. Okay. And you can group them and summarize them to get a little bit more of an overview for your data. So I suppose using the cubes is less about finding which customers to market to and more about having an insight into your data, being able to spot trends, being able to understand what they're buying. Okay. So I think I managed to cover all of the points of report writing today. I will go back to my slides and go into key takeaways. Maybe. There we go. So just to reiterate the key takeaways. So at the beginning of this webinar, in the beginning of the demo, I showed you the customers who bought X but not Y report, which is where we explored the collection filtering, how you could filter it by showing you customers who bought from product category A but not product category B, and how you can then manipulate that data, why you'd want to do it, which is to find the cross-sell, upsell opportunities, get a good list of contacts or companies to market to, etc. And then I showed you how to create a report which focused really on grouping and summarizing your data. And I also demonstrated how you could do that with the data cubes that we've got. The data cubes, which is kind of the pre-aggregated data that we've got line by line. You can see every month for every year how much of each product was sold. So that is the demo done. On to the Q&A. Hopefully I can answer all of your questions on reporting because it is quite complex. So let's have a look. Julie, how can you select RFM segment so you can pick only current customers not closed? So I believe that question came in when I was in the customers who bought X but not Y report. So if I open this up and let's just add these in again. Strawberry. Cool. So I believe your comment here is because the RFM, a lot of these customers had RFM segments of closed and perhaps type of lapsed. So you can just add a filter of these. So what I would actually do is just go here and add a filter and say is not closed, for example. But in my opinion, you can still market to customers who are closed because actually that's the act of winning them back, right? So you don't necessarily want to exclude them unless, of course, you know, for example, your customers only get closed when they're out of business or when then, you know, you're never going to get them back. Then you can just add that filter to say they're gone. But in my opinion, you would still want to market to them if you can, because there's that option of, you know, exactly what this report is showing you. They may have bought your blueberry jam, but they've never bought your strawberry jam. And so perhaps if you market to them and say, hey, we have strawberry jam, then they might kind of re-engage interest with you. So the option is there to filter, absolutely, but just, you know, have a think as to whether or not you actually want that to apply. So I will answer that one. Hi, on this top products report, can we add a column of how many open quotes there are on? Ooh, probably not. So with cubes, if we go back to the fields here, you'll notice that the fields that you've actually got available to you is quite small. And that's because every field on there is pre-calculated by us, like by the database, the system. So you can't really expand out and I don't think you can do collection filtering on these. I'm happy to be proven wrong. No. So before, and that's probably because this is on sales transactions, whereas the collection filtering works better when you're kind of at the top of the hierarchy. But yeah, for the top products report, you can't then filter or see how many open quotes they've got, which is a good point because perhaps they've not purchased much from you, but they've actually got quite a lot of open quotes. That's probably one I would use the collection filtering for, I think would be better for that. So if we were to go back to the X but customers who bought X but not Y report, you go back here. you can do a filter. Oh, I put that away. Add a filter. If we add a filter of quotes here, then you can say, show me, oh yeah, I need to input this again. Blueberry, strawberry, where any quotes is not deleted. So this currently is showing you a list of customers where they have any open quotes. You could, if you really wanted to, go even deeper. So say we're looking particularly for haven't bought the strawberry jam one. What you could do is then filter this list even more by saying they have bought blueberry jam, they've not bought strawberry jam, and they've not got an open quote with strawberry jam on it. The way you would do that is by adding a filter, showing more, going down to quotes, but it's not quote that you want to be filtering on because the product, because you're wanting to filter on product, is on quote line. So you expand this, show more, lines. And then here you want to do where any quotes are open, add a filter for skew, and then do starts with strawberry. Okay. I think that has worked. And I think it's just because, oh, I needed to put it to where none. That's why. So now this report is showing me all of a list of customers where they've got where they have any sales transactions with products that start with blue, but they don't have any sales transactions where it starts with strawberry. So they've bought blueberries, but they've not bought strawberry, and they don't have any open quotes with the product strawberry on. Okay. I think that's a little bit roundabout a way of saying how you could still achieve a similar way, a similar report that you're asking for, just in a different way. Maybe went on a bit too much of a tangent there. Is there a report for customers who have bought X? That's a really great question. So if we look, customers have not bought. So as you mentioned, customers who have bought. So currently this shows you have not bought. If we do blueberry, manage filter. So currently this is showing me customers who have not bought blueberry. If I just change this where none to where any, I now have a list of customers who have bought blue. So that's how you would do it. You just simply change this filter here by saying where any compared to where none. So where they have not bought blueberry jam is where none. Where they have bought blueberry jam, where any. And customers who have not bought X is a default report. What I would suggest you do is change this filter once and then save the report as and call it customers who have bought X. So then you're not having to constantly remember how to do that. Okay, but it's simply just changing this default filter. When you open it, it will say where none. You want to change it to where any, and that's going to show you customers who have bought X. Okay. Can I get a copy of this webinar, please? Yes, of course, Paul. So the webinar will be emailed to you after this, but it's also all live on our YouTube page for you to go back and watch. Okay. On contacts, we have people who are the contact for multiple companies, yeah, but can have only link one person to a simple company, not multiple. Is there a way around this? So currently there's not. So presuming you mean, because this is all about email address. So if a customer has an email address, that email address has to be unique to that contact. And so that one contact can only be linked to one company, is I believe what you're suggesting here. So the way around that we suggest is to actually create multiple contacts, but have that primary email address for the other contacts be secondary email addresses. The other way around it is by using our relationships feature. So that's where you can kind of link them together in a way that you can easily kind of go between the different companies that that contact is related to. Definitely maybe one, Suzanne, to speak to your customer success manager about, because they definitely be able to help explain that and demonstrate how it actually works. So yeah, definitely reach out to your customer success manager. If you don't know who that is, contact support in the online chat As a reminder to get to the online chat, you go to the question mark, start a chat, ask our support team, who's my customer success manager, and they'll be able to tell you and ask them to reach out. Is there a report? Is there a report that could summarize all of our products and how many open quotes we have with them? We have for them. Yes, maybe. I'm nervous to do this live. Might go wrong. Um, all of our products and how many open quotes we have for them. Hmm. I don't know is going to be the answer. Maybe, but I'm not confident enough to give it a go live on this webinar. So, Lauren, I would suggest you contact our support team, who again can either help you out with this or can put you in contact with your customer success manager. And I'll also go away and have a think on how you can do a report on that because I think it's possible, but I'm not confident enough to try and do it live. So, yes, I can follow up on that one for you. Can you give the link to the YouTube page or what do we search? Of course. So if I bring my other screen over, here we go. So Prospect CRM, that's all you need to search. Prospect CRM on YouTube, and you'll see here are all of our webinars. Not only that, but we've also got a few useful Loom videos live on there as well. So yeah, please feel free to go have a look at our YouTube page, but you can also go to our resources page, which is the hyperlink here. And this page also has all of our old webinars on as well. So lots of areas you can rewatch these webinars on. Again, if you aren't sure or you can't remember, just reach out to our support team on the online chat. They can point you in the right direction. Okay. So that is all of the questions that are in the Q&A box down there. Let me check the chat. Nothing in the chat. Okay. So I will hang around for another couple of minutes. If you had any questions, please put them in the Q&A section of Zoom. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming to the webinar. Hopefully, I managed to explain this in a way that you could understand. It is a little bit more complex. There is a lot of nuances to it. So my best advice is just reach out to the team if you're ever struggling. Please don't struggle in silence. We are here, we're knowledgeable, and yeah, we're here to help you. So either reach out to your customer success manager or reach out to support on the online chat, and we'll help you kind of guide you on how you can build the report, if it's achievable, all of that. So yeah, but hopefully this webinar has given you guidance on how you can perhaps start building these yourselves and the kind of reports you can create in the CRM. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. I am very new in reporting and I need to take the beginner webinars, but where is the online chat? Yes, I would say, remember this webinar was the advanced reporting. So this is going to be complex. If you've not used the CRM much before, if you've not used reporting much before, especially, this might not make a lot of sense to you. So if that's the case, please do go back and watch our beginners webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago. Please also do look at all of the resources we have on our documentation. To get to the online chat, just to reiterate, I'm not sure if my camera is blocking this, so I'll quickly kind of minimize that for you there. So the online chat can be found in the question mark in the top right-hand corner of the CRM. And if you select chat with us, it will pop up a chat. All you need to do is ask a question. You can either say, ask a question here, or if you select, through to a human, then you'll get through to our live support agents. So all you need to do is kind of put in there, I need help with the report, or this is the report I want to create. How do I do it? And our AI chatbot will try and answer first. If you don't want to speak to our AI chatbot, just say, human, please put me through to an agent, and you'll get connected with one of our team. So hopefully, Julie, that's going to give you the assistance you need. If not, we do offer a report training session. So maybe worth seeing if you can get one of those organized as well. All right, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, I'll stay around for a couple of minutes. Any questions on reporting or the CRM, just put it in the Q&A section below, and I'll try my best to answer it.